There was a man who was born a slave. He had no name that mattered, no freedom, no future that belonged to him. He was beaten, broken, and owned by another human being. And yet, he became one of the most powerful minds in all of human history, not because life went easy on him, but because he learned something that most people spend their entire lives running from. He learned that suffering is not the enemy. Ignorance is. And right now, you are about to learn the 8 lessons that life will force on you, whether you are ready or not. Most people believe that wisdom is something you find when you are calm, when life is good, when you have time to think and breathe and sit quietly with a book. But that is not where real wisdom lives. Real wisdom lives inside the moments that broke you, inside the betrayals you never saw coming, inside the silence after someone you loved walked away, inside the failure that made you question everything you thought you knew about yourself. Epictetus did not write his philosophy in comfort. He carved it out of chains, and what he found there was not just a way to survive. It was a way to become untouchable. Here is the first brutal lesson. Life does not care about your plans. You mapped it all out. You knew exactly what you wanted, exactly how it would happen, exactly who would be standing beside you when it did. And then reality arrived. Not like a gentle correction, like a demolition. And you stood in the rubble of your perfect plan, wondering what you did wrong. But here is the truth that most people never accept. You did nothing wrong. The universe was never consulting your calendar. Epictetus understood this completely. He said, in his own way, that we suffer not because of what happens to us, but because we forget what we actually control. Your plan is not yours. Your timeline is not yours. What is yours is your response, your discipline, your refusal to collapse. The moment you stop fighting what you cannot control and start mastering what you can, everything changes, not the circumstances. You. The second lesson is darker, and most people hate hearing it. The people who hurt you the most were often acting from their own wounds. This is not an excuse for them. It is a warning for you. Because if you spend your life waiting for an apology that will never come, if you build a prison out of your anger and call it justice, you will be the only one who suffers. Epictetus watched powerful men destroy themselves chasing revenge, chasing validation, chasing the moment when someone would finally admit they were wrong. It never came, and even when it did, it never healed what they thought it would. The only freedom available to you is the decision to stop letting someone else's weakness define the size of your life. The third lesson will challenge everything you think strength looks like. Wanting more is not ambition. Sometimes it is panic in disguise. You chase the next achievement because stillness terrifies you. You fill your schedule because silence asks questions you do not want to answer. Epictetus called this the greatest trap a human being can walk into. The belief that the next thing will finally be enough. The next relationship, the next title, the next number in the bank account. And the brutal truth is this: it will not be enough. Not because you are broken, but because desire, left undisciplined, is a hunger that grows every time you feed it. The man who has learned to want only what he already has, that man is freer than any king who has ever lived. Lesson 4 is one that hits differently depending on where you are in life. Most of your suffering is not caused by your enemies. It is caused by your expectations. Think about the last time you were truly devastated, truly gutted. Was it really because of what happened? Or was it because of the distance between what you expected and what reality delivered? Epictetus was ruthless about this. He did not say, lower your standards. He said, align your expectations with truth. Expect people to be human. Expect difficulty to be part of every meaningful journey. Expect that love will sometimes fail, and that loyalty will sometimes waver. Not because the world is cruel, but because it is real. And reality, when you finally stop fighting it, is something you can actually work with. The fifth lesson is one that modern life does all it can to hide from you. Comfort is a slow poison. Right now, somewhere, someone is choosing ease over growth. And they will not feel the cost today or tomorrow or even next month. But in 5 years, they will wake up and feel that strange, hollow ache of a life unlived, of a version of themselves they abandoned for the sake of convenience. Epictetus lived in physical pain for much of his life. His leg was broken, some say deliberately, by his master. And yet he did not spend that pain cursing his body. He used it to understand something essential. The body will always want less. The mind must want more. Discipline is not punishment. It is the only way to become who you are capable of being. Lesson 6 is perhaps the most socially dangerous truth in this entire script. Your reputation is not yours to protect. Most people are living for an audience that is not even paying attention. They are performing courage without feeling it. They are performing success while drowning in private. They are managing how they look to people who, in 10 years, will not even remember this version of their life. Epictetus would look at modern culture and he would see it immediately. The obsession with image, the terror of judgment, the way people shrink themselves to stay acceptable. He would say, quietly, but with iron in his voice, that the person who is afraid of what others think has already handed over the one thing that could never be taken from them, their freedom to choose who they actually are. The 7th lesson is one that betrayal teaches, and almost everyone will experience this at least once. The people you trusted most are capable of disappointing you in ways you never imagined, not because they are villains, but because they are human. And humans, when afraid, when threatened, when desperate, do not always become their best selves. Epictetus lost people, lost comfort, lost the basic dignities most of us take for granted. And he arrived at a conclusion that is either liberating or devastating depending on where you are in life. Attach yourself to virtue. Attach yourself to your own character. Because everything else, every relationship, every possession, every position, is borrowed. You do not own any of it. And the moment you stop pretending that you do, you stop being terrified of losing it. And now the 8th lesson, the one that ties every other lesson together, the one that Epictetus built his entire life on top of. Death is not your enemy. Forgetting to live is. Every single day, people move through their lives as if they have a limitless account of time, as if tomorrow is guaranteed, as if the conversation can always happen later, the risk can always be taken next year, the person can always be told they are loved when the moment feels more perfect, and then the moment never comes. Not because life is cruel, but because we kept waiting for permission. Epictetus did not fear death. What he feared was reaching the end of his days and discovering he had not used them, that he had spent his one life negotiating with fear instead of burning in the direction of what actually mattered. Here is what these 8 lessons share. None of them are comfortable. None of them are what you wanted to hear, because the truth rarely is. Epictetus was not trying to make you feel better. He was trying to make you harder, sharper, more honest about the difference between the life you are performing and the life you are actually capable of living. You were not born to manage your pain quietly. You were not born to shrink. You were not born to wait for the world to become easier before you decide to become stronger. The chains Epictetus wore were iron. The chains most of us wear are invisible. And the invisible ones are harder to break. Because first, you have to admit they are there. That is the lesson beneath all the lessons. That real freedom does not begin when your circumstances change. It begins the moment you stop letting your circumstances decide who you are. That moment is available to you right now. The only question is whether you are ready to take it.